Welcome to the latest video of OffshoreInsiders.com. I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. On this YouTube video, one of the things I'm going to discuss is some of the very basics of handicapping. Quite often I've heard even so-called professional handicappers say, and maybe cynics of handicapping who basically like to bet hunch plays rather than research it. They'll say, you know, if you research a game long and hard enough, you could find an argument for either side. No crap, Sherlock. Handicapping isn't about sure things. It's about having enough games that have at least a 60% chance of covering. Of course, when it comes to the money line, it depends. The chances that you need for the game to win is dependent on the money line, but that's for another video. We have quite a few articles out there on offshoreinsiders.com about that. There is no such thing as a sure thing in betting, but the key in sports handicapping, successful sports handicapping, is to have the percentages on your side. You know, it's no coincidence, and I don't really have any data to prove this, but based on many, many years of being in the industry and being in sports betting, I've found that probably the single highest percentage of gamblers are among the lawyer profession. Addies out there, they love to bet. And there are some similarities between the law and sports handicapping. And that is simply when it comes to sports handicapping, it's a lot more like civil litigation or the burden of proof that is in civil litigation. It's not about beyond a reasonable doubt. Otherwise, you would have handicappers out there who would actually hit 97% like some of them claim. It's about the preponderance of evidence. And that's what good handicappers do. They weigh all the evidence. They look at the pros for side A, the pros for side B, and if there is a preponderance of evidence that says one side is much more likely to cover than the other side, that's when you have a bet. That's when you've got a premium play. You know, when I was in college, I had a debate class. And it's one of those classes you take at the time, you're like, what purpose does this serve? And if you've ever had a debate class, what you do is you take one side of a resolution, you argue that. And then when you're done, you take the other side. Sorry, folks, I'm itching. I do have to take care of that. And then you take the other side of the argument. But what has that taught me in sports handicapping? I basically do the same thing. I see how much of an argument objectively I can make for one side, and then how much of an argument I can make objectively for the other side. And then I weigh that, and again, if it's a lot heavier towards one side, that is when we do come up with a bet. Like I said, it is beyond a reasonable, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but a preponderance of the evidence. And what are the type of things that we do weigh? We'll weigh short-term form versus long-term form. And again, it's something that we'll probably discuss in future videos. We certainly have in our literally hundreds and hundreds of articles on sports gaming strategy out there on exactly how to weigh short-term results versus long-term results. But for the most part, we really do weigh the long-term results. Most people overplay short terms. Obviously, all the intangible factors, motivation, scheduling dynamics, how they match up. Now, that's something that's also a little bit overrated. I have found in my quarter century of handicapping, the more talented team always matches up better against the less talented team. But matchups are still quite important. Of course, as you know, we use systems, but we use systems that are statistically significant. I'll spit it out. I see a lot of handicappers out there say, I got this 15-5 system. It's not statistically significant. We have to have something that's either 80 units on the plus side, and that's using the normal betting stuff, where you would subtract 1.1 units for a loss, add 1 unit for a win if we're talking against the spread or totals, and of course in baseball, plus or minus the juice when it comes to money lines. Or a z-score of at least 4.0, and that's what statisticians, guys with PhDs, use. And we just use the objective formula of the z-score. Of course, we have our outlaw lines. For those of you who are not familiar with outlaw lines we actually have the ability, we do outsource this, but we get an outlaw line that is based on purely what the line would be without any adjustments made for public perception. Because as you should know, The line is not a prediction, but it is based on the public perception of getting 50% of people on this side, 50% of the people on the other side. So we use our outlaw line and find any dichotomies. Of course, sharp versus square. That is, we've got a lot of outlaw bookmaker contacts, Las Vegas, and certainly plenty of offshore. And they tell us if a lot of sharp money is going this way and a lot of square money is going the other way. And it's the perfect storm when sharp money is going one side in the same game and the square money is going on the other side. And that, quite frankly, happens pretty often. And that's because the public bites into the perception why the sharp player goes with the reality, what the line should be. Of course, injury information, and we analyze that in depth, exactly how it's going to affect chemistry. And more importantly, one of the most overlooked parts of injuries is when a key player comes back. But anyway, all that and more, you got to weigh it. And again, you don't look for 100% on one side. You look for that magic phrase that's used in the law, the preponderance of evidence. And that's why I'm one of the very few in this business that's been doing this full time since going back to the 1980s, the score phone days, JD of the ACC, and that's what is the case with all of our handicappers and sports services at offshoreinsiders.com.